beginning, God created beast and man so that both might live in friendship. Evil men betrayed God's trust and waged bloody wars, not only against their own kind, but against the apes. Our Savior led a remnant of those who survived in search of greener pastures, where ape and human might forever live in friendship.
I'm Tom Elliot, and welcome to Lawgiver, a Planet of the Apes podcast. A little bit late on this one. By the time you hear this, you might be actually reading issue 4 of Beware the Planet of the Apes, but I'll get into issue 3 anyway, and then next time we will get back to issue number 4. But last time, with Lucius in the clutches of the Hominidae Empire, and Cornelius and Zira, along with Lila, the leader of a less fanatical band of mutants than we are used to, pondering their next move at Yankee Stadium, it was time for some tough decisions to be made in Beware the Planet of the Apes issue 3. So as always, be ready for some spoilers, because I'm going to get into this one. The issue opens up with another look at the map that shows us the lay of the land in the area around Ape City. So it's good to see Ape City and the Statue of Liberty and the Forbidden Zone, just to see how everything fits together in this area. Now, I mentioned in one of the previous reviews that an observation that many people have had over the years is how isolated Ape City is. We don't really know what's going on beyond the Forbidden Zone. So it raises questions like, where are they getting their guns? What is the politics of this world? Do they even have contact with other groups of apes? The teachings of the Lawgiver seem to be religion to these apes, but is that something that is unique to this group? Or is that spread elsewhere? All these questions are there and not really answered. Now, I think if we're realistic, the real explanation for this stuff is that it was a movie made in 1968 and they were telling the story that they were telling. And the expanded world building that is so prevalent in our times now just wasn't done then. So I find that the best approach for me is just not to be too nitpicky about this stuff. It is what it is. But I do think that perhaps there is a story to be told about this, because it is something that is touched upon in the movie. Zeus knows more than the general populace about how the world really is. But who else knows? And does this secrecy extend to other ape settlements? Is there a kind of Illuminati of apes, connecting from all the different places who are working together to suppress the truth about the world? You know, there might be a story in that. So the map in this issue shows just what an isolating thing the Forbidden Zone is for Ape City, because beyond it, it's not too far to the Statue of Liberty, and not that far either from Lila's mutant colony, and then further along the Hominidae Empire. So because Lucius is being held by the Hominidae Empire, Zira needs Lila's help to rescue him. But this isn't something that is necessarily beneficial for Lila to do. She wants to keep the Hominidae Empire at arm's length, because why would she want to go to war with them? But Zira tries to convince her that if the Hominidae Empire are planning to invade Ape City, then because of their militaristic ways, eventually they will come for Lila and her people. So once this seed is planted with Lila, she's got a lot to think about, and it sparks a series of other conversations with some of our main players. So Cornelius is gently disapproving of Zira for over-exaggerating the threat of the Hominidae Empire because she wants the mutants to help save Lucius. And Lila ends up having quite a unique conversation with Nova. So of course, Nova is Nova. She is one of the primitive humans on the planet of the apes. So in order to be able to speak to her, Lila enters her mind, and she creates the illusion in Nova's mind that they are stood on the yellow brick road from the Wizard of Oz, and Lila is the Scarecrow and Nova is Dorothy, and she says that she does this because she remembers it from a book that she read years ago. So unless there is some kind of symbolism that I'm missing here, I'm not sure why she had to set it in the Wizard of Oz to speak with Nova, because Nova will have never read that book or have any knowledge of any kind of fiction. So it's not like you could even say it's done to keep her calm while they talk. So it is a bit strange, and I can't really see the reason for that, but maybe there's some kind of symbolism there that I'm just not getting. But it's not really a big deal either way. And while they're in this fantasy realm of imagination, Lila says to Nova, "I need to talk to you, Nova. I have a difficult decision to make." And Nova says, "About whether to go to war with the gorillas? I may be mute, but I'm not stupid." And when I read that, I thought to myself, aren't you though? You know, again, this is not necessarily a criticism, but maybe something that is worthy of discussion. Because remember, at this point, we are pre the events of the first Planet of the Apes movie. For all intents and purposes, Nova is one of the savages who are rooting around in the dirt in the first film. Through her interactions with Taylor and then Brent, she is brought on a bit in her intellect and mannerisms, but she still presents as having the capacity of a child at best. So maybe I wouldn't say that Nova is stupid, but I would say that she is primitive or limited in her intelligence. So I'm not sure why Lila has latched onto her as someone who can give her counsel and advice. The characterization of Nova here in the book seems to be more suggesting that she's smart but mute, and I don't necessarily agree that that's the case. Now we can rationalize this by saying that maybe Lila is tapping into the human that Nova should be or could be, had she not been born and raised into humanity in its current state. And I'll take that. I think it's as good an explanation as any, but I do feel that maybe the comic is giving Nova a bit more intellectual credit than she's actually earned. So as the issue goes on, we get a scene between Lucius and one of the gorillas of the Hominidae Empire, in which they bring Lucius in, give him some water, and give him a bit of the softly treatment in order to try and get some information. Now it's a short scene and we really don't get much more than what I've told you there, but ultimately what I come away from this scene is a desire to spend more time with the Hominidae Empire. They're a militaristic band of guerrillas and they have their own look about them, their own uniforms, and the place that they live with their homes carved into the rocks in this deep canyon. I would happily spend a few issues with this race to see how they live, how they are different from the apes in Ape City. So they add a potentially interesting layer of complexity to this whole area. And of course we're going to see that here in this issue, but it would be really great if these were players in whatever Marvel have planned for the future of the Planet of the Apes comic series. Now understandably that is kind of limited because they have to fit in with the movie continuity, but you know, maybe there's something they can do there. So in the end, Lila decides that the Hominidae Empire are a threat, and she and her mutants will attack them. But instead of using the element of surprise or some other military tactic, they're going to go right through the front door and use their mutant powers to cloud the minds of the gorillas as they go in, until it's time to attack. And we get a small hint in all of this that perhaps Lila has an agenda of her own. So I will leave it there because we get a few pages of battle before the issue ends. But by the time it does end, the battle is in no way over, and it will of course spill over into the next issue. Now I suppose, again, if I have a little criticism, it is back to the subject of Nova, because when the battle commences, Nova enters that battle on horseback, wielding some kind of mace. So again, I kind of feel that maybe Nova is given a little too much evolutionary credit in this issue, because I don't feel that's the Nova that we meet in the first movie. But we'll let that go for now. Overall though, another good issue. In a lot of ways it's a setup issue, one that is putting the pieces in place ready for the finale, because this isn't an ongoing series. The model for Marvel at the moment seems to be these 4-issue arcs that are then collected into 4-issue trade paperbacks. And while I don't mind that, it does mean that the stories seem to go a kind of a breakneck speed. And there are plenty of times within these comics where I would have quite liked to have spent a little more time somewhere or with someone. And I mean that as a compliment to the creators here, because we're meeting some interesting races in interesting places. The mutants and their Yankee Stadium home, the Hominidae and their canyon home, and even our old friends Cornelius and Zira, I think, are written well as compelling characters and really nicely rendered in the artwork. So I kind of want to spend a bit more time with all of them, but it does seem to be going at a breakneck speed. So sometimes it plays a little differently when you read the collection as a whole, so I'm looking forward to that. It is on pre-order now. I believe it's out in September this year, so check out with your local comic shop for that. So I'm looking forward to issue number 4, but I'm also hoping that this isn't the last we see of some of the things that we're being introduced to here. So thank you for listening. I will speak to you soon with our finale in issue 4 of Beware the Planet of the Apes. Bye for now.
We still wait, my children. But as I look at apes and humans, living in friendship, harmony, and at peace, now some 600 years after Caesar's death, at least we wait with hope for the future.